Donald Trump has nevertheless decided to send United States troops to the Gaza Strip to stabilize the situation in the region. The United States plans to establish a large military base in the Israeli area of Gaza, adjacent to the Gaza Strip. The facility will be used by international stabilization forces, ensuring the ceasefire regime in the enclave, and will be able to accommodate several thousand military personnel. Moreover, Donald Trump is ready to deploy his troops to Syria as well, so that American soldiers can monitor the implementation of a future security agreement between Israel and Syria. But the United States military base near the Gaza Strip has already greatly frightened the supporters of the group. Hamas, amazingly, even the terrorists closest to them have abandoned Hamas today. The Yemeni Houthis unexpectedly sent a message to Hamas in which they announced the cessation of shelling Israel and attacks targeting international shipping. This is due to the ceasefire reached in the Gaza Strip. The Houthis stated directly that from now on everyone is on their own. Therefore, it is clear that Hamas's days are numbered. I'm Pechiy. Let's discuss this together. But before we start, I ask you to subscribe to this channel, like this episode, and be sure to write any detailed comment under this video. Also, subscribe to my Telegram channel, Pechiy News. The link to it is in the description of this video. There we publish breaking news as soon as it comes in. If you want to support the work of this YouTube channel, you can do so financially with any donation or a paid sponsorship subscription using the links and details provided. In the description of this video, it says support the channel Pechiy. Choose any format you prefer. I appreciate any opportunity and your support. So, the United States plans to establish a large military base in the Israeli area of Gaza, adjacent to the Gaza Strip. This is reported by the publication Shomrim, citing informed sources. According to them, the facility will be used by international stabilization forces, which will ensure the ceasefire regime in the enclave and will be able to accommodate several thousand United States military personnel, but not only United States personnel. I'll explain why later. The project's budget is estimated at $500 million. And the publication sources added that in recent weeks the Americans have been actively working on this issue and are already looking for a suitable site to build a military base. But essentially this is no secret, and the White House has even officially confirmed that they are indeed ready to send American troops to this region. But there simply wasn't any information that this base would be located on the territory of Israel and not in the Gaza Strip. And one of the high-ranking sources in Israel's security sector called this a significant step. He believes the military base plans show Washington's strong intent to stay involved in Gaza's fate and the broader Israeli-Palestinian conflict. At the same time, such a large-scale project may spark debates within the United States itself, since many members of the Republican Party oppose expanding the American military presence abroad. The current United States military presence in Israel is quite limited. After the ceasefire agreement, about 200 American servicemen were stationed at the Central Coordination Center base in Kiryat Gat. In addition, during the war, the United States deployed a terminal high-altitude area defense battery in Israel, which helped intercept Iranian missiles. Well, and that's officially about it, but it's also important to note some significant changes for Israel itself. Because the establishment of a military base will be a continuation of steps that have already reduced Israel's freedom of action in the Gaza Strip, especially when it comes to the distribution of humanitarian aid. It is expected that the International Monitoring Mission will have full control over this process, while coordinator of government activities in the territories, which is under the Israeli Ministry of Defense, will only perform auxiliary functions. The Central Coordination Center in Kiryat Gat will now handle most Gaza operations, including humanitarian efforts. Israel is gradually ceasing to be the main player in managing this situation in the Gaza Strip. And here I will remind you that at the beginning of November, the United States officially submitted to the United Nations Security Council a draft resolution on the creation of international stabilization forces, which will operate in the Gaza Strip at least until 2027. According to the draft, the international contingent will operate in close coordination with Israel and Egypt under a unified command agreed upon with the Peace Council in Gaza. This is the body that Donald Trump proposed to create and lead last week. The forces will include military personnel from several countries, and Azerbaijan, Egypt, Indonesia, and Turkey have already expressed their willingness to participate in this mission. and of course, military personnel from the United States of America as well. The structure will be responsible for guarding the borders and humanitarian corridors, protecting the population, and also training a new Palestinian police force that will assist in supporting the missions. In addition, the international stabilization forces must oversee the demilitarization of the Gaza Strip. This means the destruction of military and terrorist infrastructure and the disarmament of all non-state groups, including, of course, the Hamas group, which was a key demand of Israel. And so, according to the American official, the international forces will be an enforcement force, not a peacekeeping mission. The deployment could begin as early as January 2026, and as you understand, any extension or change of the mandate of this international mission will require consultation with Israel, Egypt, and the United Nations Security Council. The United States is considering and expects that the resolution will be adopted within a few weeks so that they can immediately begin implementing the plan. Meanwhile, they are building a military base. The Trump administration views international stabilization forces as a key step to ensuring stability in the Gaza Strip after the armed conflict between Israel and Hamas. This is also very important. The draft resolution does not refer to Chapter 7 of the United Nations Charter. This means that the new forces will not have the same legal status as the United Nations mission in Lebanon, operating under a different mandate. These won't be classic peacekeepers. Americans call them enforcement forces, not peacekeepers. Because peacekeeping forces can observe, monitor, report, record violations, and so on. But enforcement forces can intervene, open fire, and can actually eliminate Hamas militants if they refuse to lay down their arms. And that's exactly why the Americans want to establish a military base in Israel. Well, and now the most interesting part. Trump has already stated that he will achieve the complete disarmament of Hamas if they do not lay down their arms themselves. But Trump didn't mention that the United Nations resolution states that Hamas and other groups will not be allowed to govern Gaza in any form. No matter how much Hamas hopes to keep at least some power, that's not all for Hamas yet. Basically, they were betrayed by their own people. I'm not even mentioning that Iran just stepped aside, even though it was Iran that financed this group and led them into war against Israel. Even the Yemeni Houthis betrayed Hamas. Today, the Yemeni Houthis sent a message to Hamas informing them that they are stopping shelling Israel and attacks targeting international shipping. This is due to the ceasefire reached in the Gaza Strip. And here I'll quote from the public statement of the Houthis. We are closely monitoring the situation and declare that if the Zionist enemy resumes attacks against Gaza, we will resume military operations deep inside its territory and restore the blockade of Israeli navigation in the Red Sea and the Arabian Sea. From that moment, they have not been carrying out any more shelling. Let me also remind you that the Houthis announced they're joining Hamas's war against Israel on November 19, 2023, promising to attack ships heading to Israeli ports. However, their strikes were much more extensive, forcing many shipping companies to stop using the Suez Canal, and the port of Eilat had to completely cease its operations. And according to the Houthis, during the operation, hundreds of ships were attacked, with the latest attack recorded on September 29. And now the Houthis have officially announced their withdrawal from the war, essentially telling Hamas militants that everyone is now on their own. So I'll leave it at that. Share your opinions and conclusions in the comments below this episode, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and don't forget to like. That's all for now. Take care of yourselves. Goodbye, everyone.